You know, folks, I want to kind of give you an update on the audio video that I uploaded last night, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, well, some people may say that they can't hear me or not, because the last time I did an audio video late at night was for the same reasons I did one last night. You see, anytime my mom's asleep on the couch, or mostly when she goes to the shower, I take that opportunity to do an audio video, or as I'm doing right now, an on-camera video, because she can't hear me. She cannot hear me when she's taking a shower. Now you might ask yourself, well, what's the big deal about that, Brian? Well, the big deal is she's the kind of person that likes to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Kind of wants to know what you're doing, who you're talking to. She tries to make fun. She tries to make it a little fun, like a little game or something like that. Tries to find humor in it, or I don't know. But anyway, like I said, you know, she kind of likes to be in the know. So anytime she's asleep here on the couch, or she's mostly taking a shower, that's my opportunity to do an on-camera video, on audio video. That's why sometimes the audio videos, like recently, will be a little low, will be a little short. Will be a little low and be a little short because, you know, I never know when she's going to be done, and she's going to come out of her, be done, get, you know, going to be done and be completely done with her shower and everything, and be ready for bed, and come out and have her, you know, like go to bed snack and all that and everything. So I never know when that's going to happen, so I have to talk about topics very quickly. But anyway, you know, that's why I want to do this on-screen video update, because I don't know if people are going to complain a little bit of whether or not they could hear me or not hear me. You know, it's just something that I kind of want to, you know, get out of the way, so that just in case people don't hear me, you know, in the audio video, they can hear me here. But, you know, first of all, let me say this. You know, I will give Nickelodeon, and I will give the creators of the new 2012, 2013, the new currently running Ninja Turtle series on Nickelodeon, I'll give them a lot of credit. I'll give them a lot of credit because, you know, they're trying to focus on a new generation of fans. Not just the old fans, the old generations, the long-time fans and all that, but on a new set of fans. And I'll give them that. I'll give them that they've added some twist on some old characters and their backstories, as well as giving us some original ideas that we didn't see coming. You know, like with Krang, instead of just being one alien brain, it's a multitude of alien brains. You know, Shredder and Splinter, their rivalry is a little bit more personal. You know, instead of just, you know, Splinter being kicked out of the academy or whatever, instead it's personal to the point that Shredder kidnapped Splinter's daughter and raised her to be Karai. So that, I'll give them credit, was something that that was a unique take on on Shredder and Splinter's backstory right there. That was a very interesting and surprising take. You know, and then of course you got other situations as well, like, you know, I think we still have possibly Baxter Stockman becoming a fly, maybe. We're not really sure yet. So we got all these other things coming, but again, I'll give them credit for putting some added twists, some new twists on some old characters, and some old backstories, some old backstories of established characters. I'll give them all that. I'll give them the credit where the credit is due, because that's something that not a lot of revamped or rebooted series based on an established franchise would ever do. They would never really, you know, add a twist to a previous idea or establish a character, and either add that twist to the backstory of who they are and how they came to be and what have you. You know, I'll give them that. I will give them that. I'm not going to deny that. But then again, there are certain things that a lot of longtime fans will have a mixed reaction about. Yeah, a lot of longtime fans will like the show. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to like about it. From what I've seen, there is a lot to like about it. It is funny at times. But to me, the reason I don't watch it as much as I should is because it's not really Ninja Turtles to me. I mean, yeah, it is Ninja Turtles, but it's not. See, again, not trying to discredit them. They've done a lot of great things, a lot of good things. They made a lot of right decisions to make this show what it is. But the point is, there's a lot of things that they've done otherwise that, for people like me, for longtime fans like myself, it's just a turnoff. It's not something that we can fully embrace. It's not something that, we can fully, embrace as being part of the Ninja Turtles mythology or continuity or whatever. It's not something that just checking something, folks. But again, like I said, it's not something that, some longtime fans, not all longtime fans, but some longtime fans just cannot really embrace. We cannot really sit there and watch and see certain things that we feel are just not right, to be shown the way they are. For example, you take a look at the human allies, and even the human adversary. You take a look at April, Casey, and Karai. Now, one can understand why each and every one of them is portrayed as a teenager. We can understand that. It's a different time period now. It's a different time period, and in the eyes of some, teenage turtles having an infatuation with a mid-20s television reporter or scientist just doesn't really seem right. Or them befriending a 25-year-old vigilante crime fighter in Casey Jones doesn't seem right. Or even them or even their leader, Leonardo, having I guess you could say a bit of a rivalry, but kind of a rivalry, if not flirtatious rivalry out of honor and respect with a 25-year-old Karai doesn't make sense. So what do they do to fix that? And again, I can understand. That's probably why they did this. So what do they do to fix that? They turn Karai, they turn Casey, and they turn April into teenagers. And again, I can understand the reason they did that, because that makes a little bit more sense. Yes, it's a little weird that you have turtles crushing on, you have a certain turtle like Donatello crushing on teenage April, but, again, it's a little bit more understandable because they're about the same age. So I get that. But again, to me, when I look at those characters, I'm like, no, this isn't right. This is not really, this is April, but it's not April. This is Casey, but this is not Casey. This is Karai, but this is not Karai. To me, it's just not them. It is them, but it's not them. And that, to me, and some other longtime fans, in my opinion, is a bit of a turnoff. Even fans that got introduced to the Turtles franchise courtesy of the 2003 to 2009 10 series that aired on Foxbox, aka CW for Kids. When it aired on those stations, when it aired on that station, or basically in syndication on that Saturday morning block, there was a lot of new fans that got introduced to it. And there's a lot of new fans that prefer that 2003 to 2010 series over the 80s and the current one. Then again, there are some that prefer the new one over both, or over the 2003 series. But the point is, there are also some that just, when they look at the April and the Casey and the Karai in this incarnation, and then they compare them to what they saw in the 2000s series, it's to them, they feel, to me, and this is just my opinion, but I feel to them, they feel the same way I do. That they know it's April, they know it's Casey, they know it's Karai, but it's not really them. You know, it's like, it's not really the characters you have come to know elsewhere. Because you're used to seeing April, Casey, and Karai as adults. You're not used to seeing them as teenagers, yet you understand why they did it. Yet you understand why they did it. They did it because of the time period, and I guess whoever's in charge of Nickelodeon or whatever feels as though, hey, it just doesn't seem right, or it doesn't feel right, or it's not right to basically have teenage turtles crushing on a 25-year-old scientist or TV reporter. Go figure. But, you know, anyway, I can understand why they did it, but to me, and I'm sure to some other fans, like say Andre of the Black Nerd Comedy, and some others, it's sort of a big turnoff. I mean, again, we can understand why they did it, and maybe the personalities will make those characters popular among fans, both new and old, but still, it's just, I mean, even into a second season, you just cannot be used to seeing the Turtles like that. We've seen the human allies and friends or rivals like that. You just can't see that. You just cannot be used to seeing that. I mean, I understand that they took all the elements from what people have said of previous Ninja Turtle incarnations and tried to blend them all together for this. I get that. And that's something I can respect. But overall, it's like, no. It just doesn't make sense. I'll give you a good example. There was a few people last year with WWE 13, and just recently with WWE 2K14, and WWE 12 2 years ago. 2 years ago with WWE 12, I should say. And then, like I said, recently with 2K14, and then last year with 13, that when they created April, and they would create Casey, they would give them alternate outfits, but never once did you see one of those alternate outfits being the teenage April or a teenage Casey. You never saw that until probably recently. I'll give you an example. When the game was coming out, when 2K14 was coming out, about a week or two before it came out, a couple weeks before it came out, I should say, I went and did an audio video. I did an audio video, and I basically said in there that if you were to create an April O'Neil, that you need to do it in a way that her outfits represent each and every incarnation. Well, I went to go see if somebody did an April O'Neil, and there were two people that did. One person only gave her the established 80s to mid-90s, basically the first 7 seasons of the original cartoon. They gave her basically her Channel 6 outfit. That was it. And then another person did the same thing, but for 2 alternate outfits, they gave her a ninja outfit, and they gave her a Master Ninja outfit. And then I contacted this person. I said, hey, this is cool and everything, but if you really want to get people to notice this or really enjoy this April character, I basically suggested, and he didn't have to if he didn't want to, but he did it anyway. Or they did it anyway. They didn't have to or they didn't want to. But I basically suggested that they should do April in a sense that represents, her attire, her outfits, represent each and every one of her incarnations in animation. Like, the first outfit, again, is her Channel 6 yellow jumpsuit. The second one he did was 2003. The third one, current April teenager. And then the last one was back to the sewers. Basically, each and every one of those incarnations, each and every one of them is an incarnation of April we have seen. So that, so far, and that was basically something I suggested to him through a little audio message I sent to him courtesy of my Xbox Live. And he responded back and said, okay, take a look. And, well, actually, I looked anyway before I looked at the message. I looked anyway, and it was updated, and I read his message. The reason I went to Community Creations and checked was due to the fact that my roster is up to 30 now, and I got 70 slots left to go. But every time I create 2 superstars or 2 divas, I always download 2 superstars or 2 divas from Community Creations. So that's a good thing for me when it comes to my roster, because it saves space. And boy, does it save space. But I'll get into that in another video. But the point is when this person, along with the other person, well, this individual, first created April, it was just the April that was from the 80s cartoon, from the 80s to mid-90s cartoon. That was it. And then finally, after my suggestion, which they didn't really have to take, but they did anyway, you now have an April, their April now has the 80s cartoon outfit, 2000s outfit, current outfit, and back to sewer outfit. So, but the point is that I'm trying to make though, is out of all those different outfits, the main outfit that's always been used, the main outfit that's always been associated with April, has been the yellow jumpsuit from her Channel 6 reporting days in the original cartoon. You see, it doesn't matter what different incarnations of the Turtles, what different incarnations of the allies or something that you do, everybody is going to be used to a certain incarnation. And a majority of fans, whether they were introduced to the franchise with the 2000 series or even previously before that with the 80s to mid-90s series, are always going to be used to seeing an adult April and an adult Casey and an adult Karai. They're not going to be used to seeing a teenage April, a teenage Karai, or a teenage Casey. They're not going to be used to that. Even though they understand why it was done, it's just something that's not going to be appealing to them. And you know, you want to attract new fan, you want to attract that old fan base to the new show, then you need to do something. Then you need to do something that would attract them, even if it meant giving them an adult version of the characters. But again, I can understand why they did it. It's the time and the period. It's the time period right now, a certain situation socially or whatever going on. Media-wise, whatever. So, again though, even though I can understand and respect why they did it, it's just something that turns me off to the series. Especially with the fact that in the second season, you have April basically not wanting to communicate with the Turtles whatsoever, because she basically blames them, or she's basically so upset with them about what happened to her father. And again, it's basically, like I said earlier, I think I mentioned it earlier, with Wingnut. With Wingnut, who we pretty much seen in the original cartoon, as well as in the comics, as well as the action figures, I don't think we knew much about his background, about how he became who he was. Yet, I'll give him credit, we did get a background and actually visually saw how he became who he was. You see, Wingnut is actually April's father. So, that, of course, doesn't sit well with April. She's pissed off at the Turtles. When I'm sure this is not going to really last long. I'm sure this is going to last maybe up until the mid-season finale, and that's about it. Give it take or so. But anyway, she's upset with them on that, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Yeah, April gets frustrated with the Turtles. She gets mad at the Turtles. You know, but she doesn't shut off complete communication with them. You know, she doesn't shut complete communication off with them. And to me, when I look at that, when I read about that, I'm like, when I hear people talking about that, you know, in reviews and stuff, it's like, or even writing it down, I'm like, no. I'm like, no, that's not April. That never has been April. And it never will be April. To me, April was always more subtle. Was more, yeah, she would get frustrated with them, but never to the point of she would completely shut them out. I mean, the way I look at it is like this. If this is gonna lead up to a story to where she'll accept the apology, but only on the condition that she gets to go on missions with them from now on, then fine, wrap it up like that. But to me, this is not really April. This is not really April. And yet, and how is this affecting the Turtles, you might ask? It affects the Turtles basically because Donatello, who has a crush on her, is bummed out. And basically, I guess Splinter's teaching him something about, hey, you don't like falling, I'm going to make you like falling and all that. I mean, what's the message trying to get? Hey, you don't like falling? Guess what? April didn't like, I guess what is his message going to be? Oh, you don't like falling and all that? Well, guess what? April didn't like seeing her father, what happened to her father. She didn't like seeing you guys fail. I mean, if that's the case, then fine. Get that lesson out of the way. But the point is to me, the point is, in my opinion, and I'm sure there's a lot of other longtime fans that will agree with this, that probably enjoys the show, but still feel there's certain things about it that turn them off at times, that this is not April because she would not shun the Turtles the way she has. She wouldn't. And in Casey, yeah, he's a vigilante, but he wouldn't become a mutant hater, no. He's more of a guy that just doesn't trust anybody. Unless you prove yourself to him. Unless you prove you're trustworthy to him, he doesn't trust anybody. He's a DTA guy. He's like Stone Cold almost. And yet, how do they make Casey here? They make him they turn him into a hockey player for his high school, a high school hockey player who's failing his classes and needs April to tutor him to stay on the team. So, yeah. There you go. And to me, that's not Casey. I mean, the only one I think they've ever done anything decent with so far is Karai. I hate to say it, it's Karai. I mean, being a longtime fan, when I look at the way this season, second season began, I was hoping it was going to begin with promise, and it has, in the eyes of a lot of people. But when it comes to a longtime fan like myself, and there are others out there, believe it or not, that probably enjoy the show or kind of tolerate it, that when they look at this, they're like, yeah, I like the show, but I just don't like this. I don't like this. This is not what this character is about. And you wonder why a teenage April, like possibly a teenage Casey Jones, and possibly a teenage Karai get mixed reactions from some fans. Because it's not who they're used to seeing as these characters. Again, I understand why they did it. But this is why a lot of longtime fans have a mixed reaction. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, they did a lot of good things with the show. They've added twists and stuff to original ideas and established characters back, original ideas, and added some new original ideas. And I'll give them credit for adding twists to, some new twists to the backstories of established characters and stuff. I'll give them that. I'll give them that, folks. But the fact is, even though a lot of that's good, there's still some things that, if you really want to get the fan base behind you, you really want to get the longtime fans behind you, then you really need to work things out. I mean, you take a look at what's going on with April. From a story standpoint, you could probably say, yeah, she's upset, but she's probably going through some growth hormones or whatever you want to call them. Going through a growth period, personality-wise and all that. You know, basically going through the typical teenage emotions, female teenage girl emotions, if you will. No offense to any teenage girls out there, but basically the typical teenage girl emotions. So you could probably understand, maybe from a realistic standpoint, that's why she's kind of upset. Maybe. Maybe. But again, you can understand that, but yet you just don't look, when you look at April, you expect an incarnation of April to be someone that's like, oh yeah, I'm frustrated with them, I'm pissed with them, I'm ticked off with them, but not to the point that she would shun them. I mean, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what the writers were thinking. But the point is, this is also being done for a reason that I guess is going to be a bit of a first in the cartoon. In any incarnation of Ninja Turtles. Any animated incarnation of Ninja Turtles, this is going to be a first. Apparently this is going to lead towards a love triangle or a romantic rivalry triangle between Donatello and Casey Jones, with April stuck in the middle. Yeah. April is going to be stuck in the middle. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. I gotta keep checking. I don't know if my landlord's gonna come by unexpectedly or not. You know, he's got our sink needs to be fixed. But anyway, the point is, the reason this is happening with April is because of something, I guess, which is a bit of a first for the Ninja Turtle franchise. For any animated incarnation of Ninja Turtles is going to happen. And that's a love triangle or romantic rivalry triangle between Donatello and Casey Jones, with April in the middle. And why? Because Donatello is in love with April. Casey Jones is obviously heading in that direction. And to me, it's like, this is one of the reasons you're having her shun the Turtles right now, not just because of what happened to her father, but because now you want to develop this. I mean, if you're a longtime fan, you pretty much know from a historical standpoint. Let me check my time here. I've got a 29-minute limit, and I'll probably have to continue this in a second part.